Welcome to the Starting Over Podcast. I am your host, Edward Shelton, aka Dark Logos, and this is the show where we look at the strategies, tactics, and mechanics behind the game of heroclix. It's a cold day today, and I'm tired. I've had the worst inconsistent sleep schedule possible. So, yeah. So there's that, and good stuff, bad stuff. Car jacked up. Got to get a new car. So yeah, it's been a rough last couple of days. Actually, last 6 days. Oh, anyway, today's show we're gonna look at the Flash set. And I'm gonna warn you just right now, there's good, bad, and ugly in this set, and so you're probably going to hear me be a little bit more negative on some things than I normally am. Mainly because there's some good stuff in here, but there's not a lot of good stuff in here. The other thing is, in all honesty, my thought process is this sort of needs to happen. My problem with this sort of needs to happen is, for a lack of a better perspective, this set should be one of the first sets that you get right out of retirement rotation, and then you're building toward that in your next con season. That this becomes a staple set, whereas right now it's sort of a joke for a good chunk of it. So that's where I'm sort of irritated with it. Also, HC Realms is not completely 100% accurate on some details with the set, and I'm still using the preview thread because it's not up in the unit section. So that's again, so please give me some grace here. All right. So let's start off. Oh man. It's it has begun. Okay. First off is the Flash number 001A. And the main reason that we're just picking this up is he's 65 points, 10 attack, 3 damage, willpower, hypersonic speed. Speed Force be darned. It's not even important. You're just looking at that upfront click. If anybody played the old Jesse Quick, I mean, it's pretty much just a little bit deeper dial. Yeah, that's it. Just a little bit deeper dial. With the potential of charge flurry. Wow. So there we go. I mean, it's not a bad figure. It's a good, just foundational figure to have. Decent keywords. So yeah, keep on moving on. Some of you would say, well, what about Rival? And truthfully, I don't think Rival's that good. I just don't. So moving on down the line. We're going to move to XS. Now, you might thinking well, why XS? Well, that Legion of Superhero keyword is good. For some reason, Speedster is now a keyword, which to me is dumb. That's real dumb. Then, even more so, we have, of course, your typical Speed Force, then Cross Dimension. If XS has at least one speed token on the card, can use Sidestep. This part is the good part. Just having one to be able to access Sidestep. The improved movement stuff, whatever. But the being able to use Sidestep is the huge thing. And it would allow you to get a whole lot more out of it. Then the last second save. XS can use hypersonic speed. XS can carry characters regardless of their speed symbols. If they share a keyword with her, XS doesn't modify her speed values from the carry ability. Friendly characters occupying or adjacent to squares moved through by XS can also be carried, even if not adjacent to her at the beginning of the move. Now, here's the thing. This is probably by far the most annoying piece for 400 points and up. And 300 points, not so much. It's very expensive, very particular types of support. But the ability to sort of zip in, take a character that's adjacent, and be like, yep, you're out of here. Boom, boom, boom. That's really strong. And then you also have to look at it like this. If you have a TKer, that's, it's a power action. And you're able to move one character. Excess can move multiple characters. Excuse me. Never mind. She only can move one character. Sorry. I thought, no, hold on, wait. Yes, she can if she could pick up Green Lantern team ability. She could pick up multiple characters. And I don't think a lot of folks sort of notice that. And then she just sort of zippity-doo-dahs around and is able to make attacks and just pull people back. Not only that, TK is limited to 8 squares of movement, and you're able to do a wonderful 12 squares of movement. So that could get you back to your lovely lantern battery if you need to get back there. So definitely something to think about. Argus Agent. Only reason we're looking at Argus Agent is because potential of killing Iron Pharaoh's bird and the torpedo. But the truth of the matter is that you're going to have TK if you're going to use Argus Agent. I mean, that's it. And unfortunately, the little power is not even on its first click. So it's another sort of meh, but it's still okay. Next up is Central City Police Officer, which by far is great because we haven't had a real cheap enhancement piece. And usually our enhancement in the past has come in around like 33 points, which I feel is good for low-end enhancement. And occasionally you get like a Lila that's like 15 points, but she can't really do jack. And I sort of like it that way. In this case, we're seeing Central City Police Officer doing double duty. First off, he's giving us PDTA, which allows us to lower our opponent's defense for ranged attacks, and then we have enhancement, which boosts our damage for ranged attacks. So all in all, this is really good. And yes, even if you want to, you can push onto that Empower to increase your melee damage. So yeah, Central City Police Officer is a definite must-buy. I'm going to bring this up just purely because I feel that this figure has potential. The question is how. But Star Labs Technician. And I know you're going to be like, oh, okay, a power action to get Precision Strike and or Toughness. The character can use it. Well, I have Gizmo. Well, Gizmo's more expensive. This, you just straight up have... spend 33 points to get this, okay? And you get a TKer. So you get Sidestep, TK, or you're able to give out Precision Strike. So I think that's not bad. I think you could have dumped the TK just to have that special power, but oh well. I mean, you can push to be a medic, but that's not even worth it, in my opinion, well, I'll take that back. 8 and a 14D... with defend, that's not bad. There's worse things that you can do, and there's other abuses that you can do with the defend. So I mean, hey, it could have potential. So I think there may be some more abuse than what I'm seeing here. So just I'll say that. The other thing is, since the Flash set has come out, we're seeing tons of super senses. I would definitely say Star Labs Technician is one for you to definitely consider. All right. Let's keep on moving down. I like Captain Boomerang because we're getting Outsiders. Number 12, Captain Boomerang. And we're getting him, again, on a cheap figure. We also get like a second chance at, getting an attack off, which is pretty good. I think a lot of people would really like that, because it's a ghetto built-in prob. I mean, you have to understand, your second attack, you're going to have 1 less damage. I mean, that's the big part. Okay. Next up is Trickster, and the main reason I like Trickster is he's cheap, secondary, third-tier attacker. He has precision strike. He has perplex. Definitely with some of these high defenses, you'd be like, perplex up my attack to an 11 precision strike. He eventually gets exploding pellets. Trickster can use energy explosion and smoke cloud when Trickster hits an opposing character after action resolve. Trickster can use smoke cloud as a free action. This really isn't that good. But add in calculator, team ability, and several other elements, and then bam, you have a lot of abuse just lining up there. So definitely, again, something to think about. Next up is Girder, and some of you might say, well, why is Girder a good figures? Well, let's look at, for 105 points, I get a 4-move charge. I get to charge for 4 squares. I get 11 attack with super strength. And I get invincible and the ability to bust through walls and then get a free light object out of it, increasing my damage value to 5. So that's the main reason to really like this piece, is that it has the potential to really boost its own damage just for walls existing. And that also includes barrier tokens. And that becomes a really big deal when you start looking at the increased use of, the wall construct and how strong it is. It's just like, thank you for giving me a light object so I can smack you harder, Abensor. Thank you ever so much. So that's there. So Girder has potential in your local meta. Your high level meta, I'm not quite sure yet, but there's possibilities there. Moving on. Next up is the Doctor, number 16. The Doctor has running shot pulse wave. The Doctor is Brother Voodoo hate, but okay, whatever. And it just make sure that, you're going to take your damage, okay, for doing mind control if you try to do mind control. Woo! And I can pay 50 points to get that trait. Whip-de-dicky-doo, okay? At 110, you get a running shot pulse waver. At 50 points, you get a running shot psychic blaster. Then at 110 points, you start with all magic is change. Doctor can use perplex and probability control and modifies his range value by +3. Now, why is that a big deal? Well, first off, he all of a sudden now has an 8 range, and that can sneak up on your opponent if they're not paying attention to his special power. That's 1. 2, being able to running shot pulse wave, cut it down to 3, and then increase it to 3, means that you're able to pulse wave for 6, which a lot of people aren't going to notice. So there's a lot of sneaky stuff with the Doctor there. So definitely don't sleep on the Doctor. Question: which Doctor is it? Does anybody could tell me? Like, I haven't seen the sculpt of it because car issues, won't be able to buy Flash for a while. Is this does the Doctor, the first drug addict Doctor, or is it the Arabic Doctor, or is it another Doctor before that? Because there's multiple Doctors in that universe. So I don't know. Like, is it anyway? I don't know which. Just someone tell me which Doctor it is. Okay, moving on. We're going to look at Steve Trevor, 54 points. He has Argus, Justice League of America, Pilot, Politician, Soldier, Team 7, Keyword. That's a lot of stuff. Steve Trevor, his special power is appointed by POTUS. That's a stupid name, but okay. Sounds like a pill. Anyway, Steve Trevor can use Empower and Leadership. When he uses Leadership and succeeds, he may remove an action token from an adjacent friendly character with a shared keyword and a lower point value. So he pretty much has the ability to just take 2 tokens off. Now, again, a lower point value means like less than 54 points, which you're not getting a whole lot out of that. Okay. If you go into like some old Justice League of America figures, maybe. And even with maybe Pilot and Politician. Soldier, yeah, You can definitely get some 10 huts out of that. But Team 7, I don't know yet. The Flash. Oh, nope, sorry. I didn't like the Flash. I forgot. Bizarro Flash. I'm going to put a preference on Bizarro Flash. Yeah, that preface is definitely going to be there. Bizarro Flash is a huge threat and no threat at all. He's a huge threat and no threat at all. He's a huge threat in tactics where you're able to play him with the White Lantern power battery. He is no threat if you just decide, well, that's just 111 points I'm not going to score. And that's the thing, like, he can't really generate Speed Force tokens unless he hits, and the chances of him hitting with the 9 attack is really low. And then, like, let's look at his slowdown. Give Bizarro Flash a free action. Remove a Speed Force tokens from this card. If you do, other characters within 8 squares can't use hypersonic speed until your next turn. Well, here's the thing. For him to use a Speed Force token, he has to, when Bizarro Flash moves at least 1 square and hits 1 or more adjacent characters, you may place a Speed Force token on him. He has to at least hit, but with the 9 attack, he's not hitting. He's not hitting anyone. Okay, with Sidestep, okay, you can say, oh, I perplex up my attack to a 10. Well, whoop-de-dicky-doo, you perplexed up your attack to a 10. It's still low against most average characters for the cost. It's a low attack value. Now, I mean, a couple of years ago that wasn't the case, but now it is, where a 10 attack is low when you're dealing with, 20, 21s, and 22 defenses on average, which is, I never thought I would say that. Anyway, going back, then you look at Slow Force. At the end of your turn, if Bizarro Flash missed all of his attacks this turn, place a Speed Force token on his card. So, yes, you have a darned if you do, darned if you don't, but still, it sort of sucks, is that you're whiffing and you're not moving forward in the game progress except for building up Speed Force tokens. And then Slow Force only takes away hypersonic speed. It doesn't stop anything else. And then it's like, oh, if you hit me, guess what? Now I'm boss. Or rephrase that. You almost kill me, now I'm boss. So there's the risk there. Anyway, picking up the pace, Bizarro Flash can use Flurry and Close Combat Expert, removes a Speed Force token from this card. He may activate his Close Combat Expert with a Close Combat action this turn. So you can Flurry and use Close Combat Expert, which would be pretty cool. So that allows him to power up a little bit. So definitely Bizarro Flash, something to look out for. I think it can be interesting. I think he's also one of those characters that when you combine it with the White Lantern power battery, you just sit back and be like, can I hit anyone? No. Okay. Did someone get hit? Yes. Okay, I'll power action heal, push, take damage, clear, next turn. Did anyone take damage? Power action heal, push, take damage. Oh, I mean, like, you see where I'm going with that. All right. Next up is Pied Piper, and this sucker is hilarious. And anyway, he has 7 range, and he has Calculator TA, just like all the rogues. He has Running Shot, 10 attack, 17D, Super Senses Enhancement. He has improved targeting, which allows him to ignore elevated terrain and ignore hindering terrain, which is awesome. Hypnotic Tones, Pied Piper can use Pulse Wave, which is ridiculous when you think about it. When he does, hit characters modify their damage values by -1. This would also include friendlies until your next turn, and he can immediately use Mind Control as a free action to make a close combat attack with an area effect that includes any hit opposing characters. Now, the first part where he does -1 damage to everybody hit, that's just everybody, even if it's friendly. The mind control part, I think, is actually interesting because you're able to do damage and sort of say, yeah, on top of the insult to injury, check this out. So there's a lot of potential there. For 76 points, plus you get enhancement. He has a lot of synergy with the other rogues. Definitely Captain Cold in particular. And then the Pulse Wave is just silly. So I think there's a lot of sneakiness that's baked into him, and we'll see what people do with him. But I think the more skilled players will bring out like the full abuses. Like, just think about this: just being able to mind control 4 characters with a well-placed Pulse Wave. 4 characters. Anyway. Next up is Trickster. Trickster is 70 points. He has sidestep, and he has a special power called Oil Slick Gun. When Trickster is attacked by an adjacent character, you may give him an action token. If you do, I mean, this is something during your opponent's turn, because you're being attacked. If you do, he evades the attack, and after actions resolve, knock back the attacking character up to 4 squares. So he pretty much can shut down super senses people. Now, why is this a big deal? Well, at 70 points, if you have the right leadership person, you could just be like, well, I roll leadership, boom. I have a chance of just taking a token off. Okay, so that Oil Slick Gun can get really powerful as a defensive option. And then you have sidestep to move away or try to break away or whatever. Also, you have a knockback effect, and then you can knock back that character up to 4 squares. Now, if your opponent is not paying attention, this would also include like a hypersonic speed attack. If you do evades if your opponent isn't paying attention, like if they hypersonic speed in, you Oil Slick Gun, then they end their movement. Then guess what? You could just be like, okay, knockback, boom. And if you have, there's that one ring from the power plant, Vortex, I think. You do knockback damage, and yay. So there's a lot of potential there. Then you have Exploding Dummy. Trickster can use Shape Change. When he does and succeeds, deal the attacker 2 damage. So that right there is another sort of awesome power. I also like the fact that click 3 is probably his best click, where you have Energy Explosion, a 10 attack, plus you have Oil Slick Gun, and Exploding Dummy. So yeah, another character again. White Lantern power battery, if you want to. Doesn't really benefit from Star Sapphires that much. Maybe, just maybe, considering teaming up with some Batman TA, just for fun. All right. Let's keep going now. What was it? Okay, I'm bringing up this character just because he's freaking hilarious. Rainbow Raider. He has improved movement, ignores elevation, which is great because he doesn't fly. He just glides on his magical rainbow. My favorite color to drain this week. Give Rainbow Raider a power action and choose red, orange, yellow, green, light blue, blue, or purple. Opposing characters possessing a power of that color on their dial modify their combat values by -1 until he chooses again, if not already modified by this effect. This is huge because for 68 points, you're able to just say, oh, you have +1 stats from the power battery. No, you don't now. Just pure and simple. Now, note, you have to be really careful with your usage of it. But yeah, I mean, you pretty much just say like, yeah, you just don't have access to it. Click 2 is a really good click. Stealth, energy explosion, toughness. Also, if you look at 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, click 6 is Psychic Blast and Mastermind. That's another good click. So there's a lot of good stuff with Rainbow Raider, but definitely you're playing Rainbow Raider for the trait. You're not really doing it for much else. You're just doing it for the trait and knowing that your opponent is completely royally hosed. So yeah. Next up is Reverse Flash. Now, Reverse Flash at first doesn't make any sense whatsoever why you would want to pick Reverse Flash. But there's a couple of reasons. Well, first off is anything to change the past, remove a speed token from this card, and Reverse Flash can use probability control until your next turn. So you're able to potentially just be like, boom, I can get prob. Okay. The next thing is Small Time Thug. Reverse Flash is a wild card and considered a lower point value to any friendly character using leadership or mastermind. So you automatically have some awesome fodder there. And you have Perplex. Then you have Speed Force Accident. When this click is revealed, stop turning the dial. Reverse Flash can't be healed past this click. This power can't be countered. Okay. Now, I like the fact that they have it here that you can't play healing shenanigans with it. That this becomes his new start dial. But with that being said, he starts just going into sort of beast mode with like steel energy. He just takes you straight back to his top click. If he keeps hitting, you keep missing. And with probability control, that's pretty solid. So definitely a more funner character with a lot of potential. The hypersonic speed movement is about standard at 10. So it allows you to really get in there or try to really abuse walls and whatnot. My next figure that I really want to talk about is Tar Pit, just mainly because you're going to be playing it because you're going to see a ton of little flashes running around. First off, you have improved movement, ignores enemy terrain, ignores characters, so that's a positive. Your movement is really low, but that's fine. You're grounded. He's grounded, so you can just carry him around. So you just get him a taxi. Next is Trapped in Tar. When an opposing character targets Tar Pit with a close combat attack after action resolve, roll a d6 and place living tar tokens on the attacker's card equal to half the result. Okay, it's just when you target with a close combat attack, you don't even have to hit. They don't even have to hit once. For all characters with this trait, characters decrease their attack value to half of the result. Sorry, hold on, wait. I jumped around. Okay, combat attack, half the result. Okay, wait. After that attack resolves, roll d6, place living tar tokens on the attacker's card equal to half the result. Once for all characters with this trait, characters decrease their attack to half of the result. Hold on, wait. Decrease their attack value by 1. Need to get that reading this fundamental going. For each living tar token on their card, and may be given a power action to remove all living tar tokens from their card. This is silly funny right there. I mean, just being able to say like, hey, I'm going to lower your attack value just because you missed. Then, and let's see. When opposing character targets Tar Pit with a close, just if you hit him or target him, not even hit him, so your shape change kicks in. So if you're able to give him super senses as well, he can become more stupid. Or Scroll's team ability. He's a calculator. Yeah, he's got a calculator TA. So yeah, give him Scroll's TA. So between Scrolls and shape change, your opponent will hate you. And if you're able to give him super senses, your opponent would really, really hate you. Anyway, living asphalt. Tar Pit can use plasticity, so those suckers are stuck. When Tar Pit is given a move action, place tar markers into the squares that Tar Pit has moved through. Other characters that enter a square with a tar marker must immediately end their movement. At the beginning of your turn, remove all tar markers placed by this character. Burning Hot. Tar Pit can use poison and super strength. So there's a lot going on here. You can trap characters, and definitely that poison and super strength combined in a set with not a lot of damage reducers is a really big deal. So just having, your taxi there, and then just, taking Tar Pit right next to him and be like, ha, buddy, you got to deal with this now. It's going to piss a lot of people off. They're not going to have a good time. All right. Next up is Fiddler. Just for the pure fact of Sonic Force Bubble, that Fiddler can use defend adjacent friendly characters with a lower point value, modify their defense by +1. This can be a little bit silly once you combine it with a defend chain, but it can help you, with your Abensors type characters and a few others. It's like, oh, I have a 19D. Great. That's about it. Oh, well, there's Prob. Prob is there too. So yeah. There's Thorn. Thorn is interesting just mainly because, like, look at me, I can invade. But that's really about it. Yeah, I mean, you could say, ooh, charge, flurry, stealth. I mean, it's not bad. You like, oh, I charge blades or flurry blades. I could see that. I'm just not feeling it. It's dry. It is so dry in here. I need to get a humidifier back here. Next up is Turtle. Turtle by far is going to be the bane of everybody. I think Turtle is going to probably be watch listed. And not because of meta play either. Even though I know meta play is going to break him. I think the main problem with Turtle is this. When you slow down the tempo of the game that much, you're forcing everybody back into multiple TKers. And we really don't want that. We really don't want to go into multiple TKers, because multiple TKers create another problem, which is if you don't face Turtle, guess what? Now you have hypermobility, and hypermobility always leads into hyper aggro, and it leads into excessive first strike, and so on and so forth. So I really, 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 really don't like the effect that Turtle is going to bring. But with that being said, he's stealth. He's going to have outwit in Quake, so he's guaranteed to do 2 damage in melee situations. So I like that. He also gets a special power which allows him to use Perplex, but only to modify speed values by -3, which is sort of contradictory because you want people to move more than 5 because of his trait. I mean, 5 squares or more. So there's a problem with Turtle. I think. Anyway, I think there's just issues. I'm glad he doesn't have a wild card. AC Realms has it listed as experienced, and I've been told that he's unique. So there you go. Next up is Jenny Quantum, and I like her because she just pretty much her trait, and she has Pulse Wave and Perplex. And if you sort of notice, like, one way WizKids is sort of dealing with all of this super senses is just saying, like, yeah, we just put some Pulse Wave in the set and that'll fix it. So I think I find that quite interesting. Anyway, quantum lock. Characters can't modify any combat values more than 2. Each force can't use probability control more than once each turn. So she acts as a mini John Constantine, while at the same time is able to say, oh yeah, you can use your hammers, but you can't really modify any other stats beyond that. Or, well, you can get your +1, you can get your +2, but +3, no, that's absurd. You can't get that. And that sort of throws a wrench into teams that are using like the Green Lantern battery, or Green Lantern, or any of the power batteries, and then they get to plus constructs, and then it's like, oh yeah, I have energy shield deflection. Well, it doesn't help you to have that +1. It's like, oh, okay. Now, stuff like range combat expert and close combat expert, you can fiddle with your numbers a little bit to make sure that you're still legit. But yeah, you're going to be watching things a lot more. Next up is Jack Hawksmoor, and I actually like this because he creates another unique game state, which I find quite illuminating to the future of the game. Here we go. First, improved movement ignores elevated, and you would think he'd be able to ignore hindering as well, but okay, whatever. Next, the city rejects you. Jack Hawksmoor can use stealth at the beginning of your turn. If it's your third turn or later, deal 1 penetrating damage to each other character occupying any player's starting area. This could be interesting and suck. It's to put pressure on Iron Pharaoh to get out of his starting area, and a few other characters to get out their starting area. The problem is that you really need to be able to do that on turn 2, not turn 3. On turn 2, you're sort of saying, okay, you could have moved your guys out. You didn't. And because of that, I'm going to start putting pressure on you. I can understand why they would say, like, oh, look, turn 3, because then it allows bigger armies to deploy out of the starting area. But at the same time, I would say this sort of puts a little bit of a monkey wrench into Swarm. It also hurts Blind Owl, but who cares about that? I mean, shutting down Blind Owl on turn 3, I mean, yeah. Yeah, that's pretty good. Now, the fact that it also says each other character occupying any player's starting area also means that you need to get your guys out of your starting area as well. And if you have too many people in your starting area, guess what? He's going to start hurting your own people. So that's the problem. Now, it's not unavoidable as penetrating, so you can leave those invincible guys behind and they won't get affected, but definitely something to think about. Upfront TK and Prob, he also has a special power called Absorbed into Buildings before Jack Hawksmoor is given a non-free action. If he occupies a square of terrain adjacent to a square of different elevation, you may place him in any square within 6 squares that is adjacent to that square of a different elevation. So it's pretty cool that he could just sort of bamf over to some other place and be like, who? Now, it is limited to elevation silliness, which means you got to be more aware of your map selection. But overall, I mean, it's pretty cool. Then he gets buildings get up. Jack Hawksmoor can use toughness, which is not bad. Give Jack Hawksmoor a free action and place up to 2 blocking terrain markers within 6 squares. These markers remain on the map until destroyed or until he uses his power again. Excuse me. You get a free wall. That's permanent. Then you're able to just say, if I have the power battery, like, oh, I get another free wall. Thank you very much, WizKids, for thinking that one through. I have free 4 square barrier. Like, come on, buddy. Like that's the first thing that went through my mind. Free 4 square barrier. Oh gosh. Anyway. Overall I like Jack Hawksmoor. I think that he's going to definitely be one of the funner pieces that you're going to play this year and going into next year. I also think he's in a position where he is supporty enough top click, and then he gets combatty enough on second click, and then his effect sort of threatens turtle play, where if people are just hiding in their starting areas to get healed by their power battery, then yeah, it could cause some problems. So I think that Hawksmoor has a future. I think the problem with Hawksmoor is people need to understand his core potential and then understand what his mid game is going to look like. Because if I look at him as a TK probber, he's overcosted. If I'm looking at him as a figure that just has, no range, he has a problem. When I start saying, hey, sniper rifle, buddy, and I start saying, hey, Star Sapphires, buddy, and when I even more so say, hey, Orange Lanterns, buddy, he starts getting really, really stupid. And I do mean stupid. Like with Orange Lanterns, he's able to put up 6 squares of terrain on his second click by himself. I really want you to think about that. 6 square, give him a sniper rifle, 6 squares of terrain by himself, plus he has plasticity, plus he can hit you from 10 squares away, and he's no longer in that limited position anymore. He is a beast if you start putting things together with him. And I mean, if we want to go down to everything is better with hammers, I mean, sure. We can do that too. Like, I give him, such and such hammer. Now he has charge. Fine. Completely fine. He could have upfront toughness too. Okay, fine. Don't care about that. I really just see Jack as I see him as the sleeping giant that when he finally awakens and everyone's like, oh, then I think he'll get watch listed. Well, let me phrase it. He won't get watch listed. I think a lot of people will play him and they're going to start complaining about his ability to do absorb buildings. Like, I think absorb building is probably absorb buildings is probably one of the stronger parts about him, because it says before Jack Hawksmoor is given a non-free action, if he occupies a square of terrain adjacent to a square of a different elevation, okay, just period. Okay, you may place him in any square within 6 squares that is adjacent to a square of different elevation. Okay, so you can pretty much go on top of the elevation. You can go on the other side. I mean, you can go all around that. If there's another elevation if you have multiple elevations within 6 squares, and you could just pop up there, and then, just by chance you pop adjacent to that one character that can't shoot you because it triggers before you do a non-free action. You're just able to be like, I'm pretty much out of the shadowing, except I'm able just to ignore elevation and everything else and line of fire, and just boof, I'm there. So yeah, Jack Hawksmoor. That's my small lecture on him. What's the time? We're at 40 minutes. So what we're going to do is I'm just going to call this part 1, and we're going to have more in part 2. Everyone that's been a long time fan, you already know how it goes with the set reviews. It's a long affair, so it's usually multiple parts anyway. I think I've had a few that have been in an hour, and even then, that's just me ragging on the set so hard. So, if just to let you know, this is the Starting Over podcast. If you didn't know that, you can follow me on Twitter at StartOverPod. It came from outer space and told me to slow down. You can check my random musings there. Also, you're able to know when a new show comes out. You also can hit the subscribe button. Helps me get higher preference on the YouTubes. You can email me at startingoverpodcast@gmail.com. That's startingoverpodcast@gmail.com if you wish to opine. Keep it piffy, keep it interesting, keep it awesome, baby. Tell me what you think of the Flash set so far. Also, if you're interested in a private tutoring mentorship session, it's $15 an hour. Just email me and contact me through the email. Then you can pay me on the blog, startingoverpodcast.blogspot.com. You're able to see pretty much just the buy list, or if I have something really, really complex that you really need to look over several times, that's what I'm going to put on the blog. So that is it. I will see you in part 2.